Today's parliamentary session marks a pivotal and highly charged moment in Zimbabwe's legislative history. Following the expiration of the mandatory 90-day public consultation notice period, which wrapped up in mid-May, the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment Number 3 Bill, CAB3, has officially landed on the floor of Parliament for its first major hearings and formal introduction. Because the ruling ZANU-PF party holds a commanding legislative majority, the bill's entry into the active parliamentary debate phase signals that the government is moving swiftly to turn this sweeping constitutional overhauls into law. Here's what took place and the immediate fallout from today's session. Right. Zimbabwe. Chunuchia. Chazosvika parliament. Right, what happened today? Formal presentation and portfolio reports. The relevant Parliamentary Portfolios Committee officially presented its findings and compiled the reports from the highly controversial public hearings held across the country. The clash over public consensus. A massive point of friction during today's session was the presentation of public feedback. Committee representatives aligned with the ruling party argued that the public broadly supports the transition to a 7-year term to end election toxicity. Conversely, opposition MPs vehemently countered this, pointing out that the public hearings were aggressively rushed, allocating under 3 hours per district and marred by the intimidation of critics, meaning today's report does not reflect genuine national consensus. The sovereignty defense, government ministers formally defended the bill on the floor, reiterating that shifting to an indirect parliamentary election for the president aligns Zimbabwe with stable, respected parliamentary systems globally and fulfills the Vision 2030 mandate for economic continuity. The high stakes on the floor. The tension in the chamber today underscores exactly what is on the line as this bill begins its march through Parliament. The 2030 timeline. Today's progression effectively sets the stage to push the next general election from 2028 out to 2030, legalizing an extra 2 years in office for President Emmerson Mnangagwa, dismantling the 2013 framework. Opposition lawmakers used today's session to argue that Parliament is executing a legal coup by voting away the public's direct right to vote for their president and transferring electoral oversight from the ZEC to the executive-controlled Registrar General. What's next? Now that the bill has had its major day on the floor and the committee reports have been laid out, it moves directly into the second reading stage. During this upcoming phase, MPs will debate the individual clauses of the bill before it faces a final vote. Because a constitutional amendment requires a 2/3 majority and ZANU-PF commands those numbers. Today's hearing effectively started the countdown clock to the bill's near certain passage in the coming weeks. Right. Beyond the major legislative showdown over the CAB3 bill in Parliament, several other major political, economic, and regional developments are unfolding in Zimbabwe and across Southern Africa. What's happening in Zimbabwe? Contested land sales and displacements. A major domestic flashpoint involves the government selling off contested land. Families who were previously resettled on these tracts under prior land reform programs are now being told they must leave. The move has sparked deep confusion and criticism from land activists, especially given the ongoing anxieties surrounding national food security. While urban and roadside residents have been frantically harvesting seasonal maize, the destruction of crop residue, traditionally used for winter livestock feed, and land policy shifts have left communities highly unsettled. Right? International Liberation War veteran backlash. Ndopata pindira. While CAB3 entered its second reading today, a significant shift in the political landscape occurred outside parliament. A prominent group of retired military generals and Liberation War veterans, traditionally the backbone of the ruling ZANU-PF's power structure, publicly voiced their opposition to extending the president's term. They reportedly met with President Mnangagwa to voice their concerns about changing the constitution. This internal friction within the old guard suggests that the push for the 2030 extension is facing elite resistance, not just opposition from civil society. Right? Let's talk about what's happening in the Southern African region. South Africa's strict new cross-border vehicle controls. The South African Revenue Service, SARS, has launched a massive digital traveler declaration system. All foreign registered vehicles entering or leaving South Africa, including those from neighboring SADC and Southern African Customs Union, SACU. Nations like Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and Botswana must now be registered online beforehand to secure a temporary import permit, TIP. Over 39,000 vehicles have scrambled to register, causing heavy scrutiny and monitoring at major border posts as authorities tighten customs controls to curb vehicle smuggling. The ZEP debate and migration tension. South Africa's Department of Home Affairs is carrying out an extensive series of nationwide public consultations regarding the future of the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit, ZEP, and the Lesotho Exemption Permit, LEP, Lesotho. Right? These highly sensitive hearings are designed to shape a final cabinet policy on legal residence for regional migrants. Concurrently, the South African National Defence Force, SANDF, had to issue an official statement dismissing viral social media rumors that the military was deploying soldiers ahead of planned anti-foreigner protests calling for mass repatriations. Regional fuel fluctuations. Energy adjustments are hitting the region's economies. South Africa's Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources announced a mixed bag for June, with petrol prices ticking upward while diesel prices see a slight downturn, a trend expected to ripple through regional transport logistics into neighboring landlocked countries like Zimbabwe. High-level regional diplomacy. On the diplomatic front, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting Kenyan President William Ruto for a high-profile state visit. The talks are centered around boosting trade, strengthening Pan-African economic integration, and addressing ongoing security challenges in the broader region. Ndinu wenyu Supergalo. Thank you for watching. Peace.